the three brothers. Eric is on the left, I'm in the middle, and then Al is on the right. See, I was the smallest in the family. When I was 5, my brothers were 11 and 12. When I was learning how to add 1 and 1, they were doing logarithms, as they did early on in the German schools. And because of that, they were always doing what I consider grown-up things. Now here is a photo of my mother, and this is my father after he was wounded in World War I. As I say, he was a German long before he was a Jew. My brother Eric, my intellectual brother Eric, and also musically talented. We did have a dog. It was a big one. It was a German Shepherd. His name was Wolf. I'm the one, the little one, standing next to Wolf. He's towering kind of over me. Me and my Freedom bicycle. I love that bicycle. That brought freedom to me. I had a very good friend, Horst Brandes. It's one of me and Horst on a bronze lion at the Löwenwall. Horst and I were adventuresome, let's put it this way. His apartment was under the roof, way up on top story of Löwenwall 1. We would climb out the window, and there was a gutter. It wasn't the kind of gutters that we're familiar with here in the States. That's a, thing like this. No, they had gutters that were, maybe 2 foot wide. The roof had folds, and you could then, and they'd be coming, down like this, and you could kind of crawl up there and then come on down and stop on this flat part. We felt perfectly safe, but it was insane to do it. The big story that I like to tell from school is this sadistic bastard, the only way I can describe it. School teacher I had in grammar school, Tucker was his name, and Tucker liked to beat on kids, and he'd whack away and he'd get this maniacal expression on his face. Whenever I think about it, even now, I say, if I meet that son of a bitch today, I'll just plaster him. Of course, Tucker was a party member with the Hakenkreuz, which means the swastika, on his lapel, as was the principal of that school. It started with that you had to say Heil Hitler in the morning, and you had to sing a Hitler song, this Horst Wessel lied, or I don't remember exactly, but the teacher would ask me then to go to the back of the room, and I didn't have to participate. Really made me stand out, but paying a certain amount of respect. Later, of course, they just said, no, Jews don't go to school. And so I think I stayed home. This picture was taken last time the family was all together in Germany. My father knew at that point that things weren't perhaps not going to be the same, and we weren't going to be together anymore. My brother Eric belonged to a young socialist group. The Nazis raided the place. The meeting was held for this young socialist group, and they arrested everybody. During that night, one of them got killed, was beaten to death. The decision was to get him out just as fast as possible. The thing that sparked this Crystal Night, the events of the Crystal Night, it was so called because the Nazis came around and smashed all the houses up, and there was a lot of glass broken, so that's why it's called Crystal Night. Them coming, and the first thing they did is they took my father away, and then they locked me and my mother and my brother Al in the parental bedroom.
The only thing that was they had in common, they were big and strong.
Well, especially to a little kid scared out of his skull.
Yeah, I was.
They took my father away to Buchenwald. but that was 1938. They didn't have this factory, this death factory thing. They didn't have that going yet. That came later. That was a scientific improvement. But they killed quite a few of his buddies that they'd taken that night. And my father, that's the third. I never connected that. But my father attempted suicide in the camp, and, stabbing himself with a small pocket knife that he had with him in the heart.
When my father was in Buchenwald concentration camp, he said, well, how are we going to get him out? And I went to the SS commander in Braunschweig and then said, what can we do to get my father out of there? He said, show me a ticket for the passage to the United States. He can come over.
Yes.
That's what we did.
How old were you when you went to the SS?
17 years.
So my brother begged and whatever, his boss and cousins and the family that he stayed with, and to put some of his money aside, and he was able to do that. And because of that, the family was able to come over. My mother, my father, and my brother and myself.
When it came to Alfred and Peter, I had a hell of a time getting that money together. And
how much money?
It was, finally they reduced it to $3,000.
My father came out, and he was in a good 5 months or so. And when he came out in the spring, he had this illa look in his face. Illa means a sort of mad, slightly mad look in his face, in his eyes. And I don't forget that. He was just a changed man after that. Then he had only one thought on his mind: how to get out of Germany. And if it hadn't been for the concentration camp, I am convinced he would not have left Germany. He would have hung on. He could have left early. A lot of Jews did. They saw the light well before he did. But as it is, he took the very last boat, because we finally got out of there, got some money, I don't know, took the last penny, left everything behind, bought tickets, and were permitted to leave on separate boats. Couldn't go on the same boat, so they lived on the Holland-America line. My brother Al and I left on the Hamburg-America line. In June and July, different dates of 1939. Well, that's July, August, September, Hitler invades Poland, and it's all over. The borders are closed after that because the war is now on.
On the ship's log, there are two names, his and mine. Hamburg, America.
And then your parents were on a different ship.
Different. They were originally on this Hamburg, America line, but my father was so
Unhappy?
fearful that they went on a Dutch line.
What was he fearful of?
Not
His
getting
life.
them into the wrong hands.
Oh, he didn't want to be on a German line.
Right.
I get it.
Trying to become acclimatized, fade in, not be a refugee as fast as I could. But that wasn't that easy to do for me. I had problems in Germany with being called a Jew, Itzi. Here they called me a goddamn refugee. High school graduation picture with the famous bedroom eyes. I had jillions of these made. I wanted the whole world to know about it. Shortly after high school, I was inducted in the Army. And here I'm in Alençon in France, pumping gas for the tanks of Patton. There's one that doesn't work anymore. But the war was over, and then I went to Marseille, and from there went to the Philippines. We were on the high seas going to the Philippines and Japan to fight there. And dropped the atom bomb, and that finished the war in Japan, so I was lucky. I never did see any serious action. Here we are in front of a little hut, communications hut, that we manned the telephones there and kept communications up in the Philippines. And here's a shot of me, and here I am on a caribou, water buffalo, in the Philippines. My father tied in with some Jews that were in the pickle business, and he was trying to find the corner someplace and do his pickle thing, but it just never took off, and he died of coronary. My mother then was left by herself, and after I came out of the army, I went to college, and after I went to college, I took a job, and she had been left alone, all those years, and she couldn't find herself either. She had some people that she knew in the building, but she couldn't get any really solid friends, and so as I moved away to Jersey, and my brother Eric had all his owners. My brother Al had gotten married, and so she committed suicide. She took an overdose of sleeping pills. That brings us up to the point where I'm about to meet Rose and start the second phase of my life.
See, Pete took one look at me, I took one look at him, and that was it. It was, in French we call it a thunderbolt, un coup de foudre. So 6 months later we were married.
Literally?
Literally.
you later, alligator, when your legs are straighter. Bye.